And then the third one, this is the one that in reality I'm most familiar with because I've implemented it several times, is sequence and cluster analysis. And so these tools are different in that we want to use them when we're interested in creating longitudinal measures of structural discrimination. And so what we need in terms of indicators are actually categorical measures. So it could be like laws and policies, discriminatory, protective, and then if you have that middle category, for example, measured over time. And it's a little bit tricky because you need at least 10 time points. And so that's one, consideration for whether or not you can use it. But essentially, sequence and cluster analysis produces distinct clusters of longitudinal exposure trajectories of the units of analysis. So a different way of saying that is essentially like what we end up with are these cluster, you know, clusters of trajectories shown in the bottom right-hand corner, where we have all 50 states plus DC divided into these 5 different clusters. In order to understand the figure in the bottom right, it's helpful to first see like that one in the middle. What is happening there is each state has a row and their trajectory is that row from point one, which is 2015, year one, up through 2022. And so, for instance, in each year, each row is shaded according to its level of discriminatory climate for that given year. And that's their trajectory, is the whole row. Then what happens is it's a data-driven process, but essentially states that are more similar in terms of their longitudinal trajectories are clustered together, and that's how we generate the figure in the bottom right, where we see that now, like the top left of that figure, of the 5 category figure, all seem to have the darkest red for every time point. And so those states are most similar in terms of their policy environments over time. Similarly, the cluster beneath that, they are mostly pink for that whole time period. Then we get to like some kind of more interesting, in some ways, clusters where the other 3 clusters are going from more discriminatory to more protective climates over time. And they're being broken up because they're changing in different ways, meaning the bottom cluster is going from more moderate to fairly protective. But then there's also the other clusters where they're going from maybe more moderate or fairly protective to like very protective. So that's, they're changing in different ways essentially. And then the map of US states, they're now shaded according to those 5 different categories that we generated of policy trajectories. And so happy to talk about this more, but that's essentially a high level overview of this.